What's happening, guys? This is Mike's Little Dragon Channel, and today I am going to talk about one of my uh, favorite topics to talk about, Uncle Rob Liefeld, and what better book to talk about his than Youngblood. Youngblood is making a resurgence right now. It was the number one image book for the month of November. Um, it is Rob's probably, I'm not going to say more so than Deadpool or Cable, but it is definitely his baby. It is the property that he has been working with the longest. He debuted this book, um, the image book. It was the first image title that was launched in 1992. Um, he kind of teased it in a couple of indie books before he got on to DC and Marvel, before he got affiliated with the big two, before his breakout with New Mutants into X Force. He had Youngblood. These characters are ones he created, from scratch, essentially. And even though it is his creation, he lost the rights to it for quite a while, and he recently got the rights to the Youngblood and the characters back. I think it was maybe about last year or 2 years ago. He got the rights to it back, and he has since brought it back to Image. And what Image has done is they have printed the first four issues that basically what they did is they reprinted, and that's what you see right here is the deluxe. Reprinted the first four issues, added some new material to it, spruced up some of the artwork, and they also have a new Youngblood book has launched with brand new stories, never seen before. Rob's putting that out. In addition to putting that out, a bunch of the image books are having Youngblood themed variant covers. So you would have assorted crisis events has a Youngblood theme cover. Whatever Saga or Ice Cream Man or whatever the fuck has different Youngblood themed covers. So Image has really been kind of celebrating Youngblood coming back to it. Now, Rob is very much a lightning rod in the comic book community. He is frequently criticized for his artwork, his lack of, his characters don't, a lot of people say his poses and, the way the characters move and the way they look are not anatomically correct. People can't move that way. People can't look that way, um, for a wide variety of reasons. His artwork, people criticize it. They say, he relies on, no backgrounds. His characters have stock poses that he always defaults to, and a lot of that is correct. You know, um, you know, Rob is someone who he's probably the first guy whose artwork I noticed as a kid. You know, I'll be 50 next year, and I was at that sweet spot. I was a very early teenager, 13, 14 years old, when I first started noticing Rob's artwork on New Mutants Annual. I noticed the covers he did, his Wolverine issue for What If. It was very, to me, as a teenager in the 90s, it was very dynamic. It was something that stood out to me on the shelf. Um, so he is, you know, guilty pleasure. He's a guilty pleasure of mine. It reminds me a lot of my childhood. I recognize his limitations. I see what everyone talks about when they criticize his artwork, and I agree with a lot of it. However, that being said, that doesn't really mean that I care very much about the criticism and that it's something that turns me off. Is Rob's artwork anatomically incorrect? Yes, it is. However, it doesn't bother me because to me, I always say it's like you're going to see, like, say for instance, you went and saw a popcorn summer movie, a Michael Bay movie, and you criticized it for not having any plot or not any, being lacking on characterization. You don't go and see a Michael Bay Transformers movie and expect to have incredible dialogue moments, characterization, cutting edge plot, something that's going to, when you walk out, you're going to scratch your head, and something that's going to make you sit back and reflect on what you just saw. Much like the movie Pacific Rim, I just wanted to see fucking mechs beating up kaiju. That's all I really needed from that movie. I didn't go to see it and expect that I was going to get some sort of groundbreaking, head scratching movie or whatever. I just wanted action over the top. And that's what that's what I get from Rob Liefeld's artwork. Just over the top action. Is it anatomically correct? No, but it's a fucking comic book. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it. So, anyway, all that being said, I thought it would be really cool to compare the original version of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood and the deluxe version right here. Now, this issue here, this came out in 1992. It was the very first Image book that was released. Now, that being said, one of the things that I've always questioned is, what is this ball right here? What is this? Are they standing on this? Is this something that's coming at them? I've always seen that and wondered what it is. And yes, I know Shaft doesn't have a bowstring on his bow. It's like super science or whatever. Doesn't need it. But one of the things about this issue here is this came out in 1992, and this was the very first Image book that was released. And that being said, it is not very good. It is not a very good comic book. It's also a flip book. So you've got two Youngblood teams, you've got two Youngblood teams in a debut issue. So all these characters here never been seen before. All these characters here never been seen before. And they made the insane business decision to debut this book and not give anybody a chance to learn more about these characters. So like I said, it's very much not a very good comic book. You got trading cards right here. So we will open this book up here, and now this is the home team. You have Bedrock, Combat, Chapel, Vogue, Die Hard, and Shaft. Bedrock here, he would actually end up having to change his name from Bedrock to Bad Rock, because that's where the Flintstones live at, is in Bedrock. And so apparently there was some sort of deal where he couldn't rock with that. He couldn't use that name or whatever. But Youngblood, the main purpose of Youngblood, what Rob has always pitched this book as, these guys are a superhero team, but they are also sponsored by the government, and because they are the government's team, things like heroes' popularity, merchandise, ratings for their exploits on TV shows, cartoons, video games, that's always a in the background too. So even though that is what the hook was, you know, imagine the Justice League or the Avengers if they were concerned about their public image. That was what the hook was for Youngblood. However, that part of the team in the dynamic of the book has never really been touched upon very heavily. They would make mentions of it here and there. You know, Bedrock or Badrock would complain about his toys not selling very much. Um, you know, someone would tell Shaft, you know, we want you to change this about you. It tests better in ratings or, you know, in popularity polls. So that was always a part of the team that was talked about, but was never, you know, really given much. It was just given lip service. So this starting out right here, you have Shaft, his girlfriend. Looks like they're at the mall. This guy he is on the run here. He's like supposed to be some sort of thief or whatever, and Shaft jumps on him and takes him down. Someone shouts at him. He says, "Jeff, above you, this guy's some sort of sniper or something." And Shaft says, "Oh, I don't have any arrows. This pin will have to do." He throws it and it hits this guy and he falls over to his death. And then the press gets here and they interview him. And right about that time, Shaft's pager goes off and he says he's got a meeting. But you see this type of character here, this body type, this face, this haircut. It's a Liefeld staple. The same as Jeff's girlfriend, or Shaft's girlfriend, Shelly. It says her name is right here. You see her face a lot. Then we cut to Bedrock. Bedrock, he's having lunch with his mom. His pager goes off as well. He says he's got to run. And if you take a look, Bedrock's mom looks just like Shaft's girlfriend. Then we cut to Die Hard. This is Die Hard. He's like a robot, android type deal. Then we see Chapel. Chapel is like a Cable type guy. He is basically like a super soldier with a big gun. As you see, like it says right here, another night, another love, Chapel, my man. Youngblood membership has his privileges. So he's basically just had a one night stand right here. Now this is a really huge Liefeld type gun. You see this in a lot of his work. We have 3 panels right here. Wow. So Die Hard gets 3 panels for his introduction. Chapel gets 4 panels. And then Vogue, who's essentially just like an acrobat, she gets 3 panels. That's their debut. And then we have like a little group scene right here. And they're told that these bad guys, the 4 is what their name is. They're doing some sort of jailbreak. This is another very stock Liefeld pose. You see this pose here of a guy punching down. You see this in a bunch of his books. They're breaking these people out of jail. Now this guy right here, what is his name? He gets broke out of jail. Deadlock and Starbright are who get broke out. So I guess this is Deadlock, and he looks like you could pick up any Rob Liefeld book and you're going to see this guy right here. This is a panel right here that people frequently point out as criticism to Rob's inaccurate anatomy. You know, Die Hard's basically bent over punching this guy. It looks like he can reach over his shoulder and grab his feet. Now this is a really cool scene right here. I don't really know what's going on, but it doesn't matter. It just looks fucking cool. You know, you've got Big Bad Rock, you've got Shaft right here with his arrows drawn. And that's the type of vibe you get here from a Youngblood book. Just cool poses. That's all it is. So that is the end of the home team's adventure. We flip it over, and now we are looking at the away teams. And then we have their members here. This big dude, Brahma. The psychic member, Sapphire. Then we have a guy here who's just a generic alien, enhanced strength and fighting. Basically Wolverine without the claws. His name is Cougar. This guy with the flaming head, his name is Photon. And then we've got this woman here. She controls water. Her name is Riptide. And then this dude here, his name is Sentinel. He's like an Iron Man suit. And you've got a card for Shaft right here. Now this here, with the multiple televisions, this is a staple of Image books. Every early Image title, whether it be Savage Dragon, or Spawn, or Shadowhawk, they use these televisions to give us exposition. It's how they catch us up on what's going on. I swear that they got this from Dark Knight Returns, issue 1 by Frank Miller. That's where the first time I saw it, and ever since I saw it in Dark Knight Returns, I've seen it in so many Image books. It's really heavy in Spawn. Spawn really does it. Spawn does it like every issue. They have like 3 TVs, and they give all that that lore dump, or not lore dump, but exposition dump. So basically, the team jumps out of the plane. They're here to fight this guy. This guy here that they're fighting is some sort of crazy, dictator out in the, some sort of crazy dictator of some third world country that has weapons. So we get a little taste of each person's personality. Cougar right here, he's the battle crazed person. Combat is like a professional. Look how huge Combat is right here. The size of him versus Cougar is ridiculous. And then here's another little round ball thing. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to be. This is another pose you'll see a whole lot in a Rob Liefeld book. It's kind of like a fastball special. Then you've got Brahma, who's just a really big, strong dude. Sapphire, he can read minds and is telekinetic or whatever. So basically they're trying to get to this evil dictator's base. So Sapphire, he's the last man standing, and he says they really portray Sapphire as like a kind of a crazy person. You know, they don't know that I could have taken you out from the States when you least expected, but I wanted to do this personally. Where's that guy's eyes? He ain't got no eyes. They're gone. And his hair looks very similar to Shaft's hair. We get a little bit of taste of Cougar is very bloodthirsty, a loose cannon. Combat here is kind of a professional, kind of very much a soldier, a disciplined soldier. And so now we see Sapphire. He confronts the evil dictator. He says, I actually admire what you've done here in this backwards country. It's just that mine pays me more. He tries to bribe Sapphire. Then you've got 2 whole pages right here of Sapphire. He basically treats this dude like the scene from The Scanners when he makes his head blow up. And Sapphire, he goes, this kind of stuff I'll do for free with pleasure. So Sapphire, very bloodthirsty, kind of a psychopath. The rest of the team shows up and see that Sapphire is taking this guy out. Sentinel is the team leader. He goes, you didn't. This one's going to be tough to explain. Then Sentinel says, all right, let's call the cleanup crew. we're gone. And then in USA Today, Hussein's terror ends in suicide. So this is the guy right here that Sapphire blew his head up. But then the cover story is that the guy took his own life. Then you see a teaser for another Liefeld book, Brigade, with Battlestone. Then you have a little jab at Marvel, Pow Smash Kerplash. Marvel Comics may be hit and is cut off. And the reason they have that right there is because everyone that launched Image was big names at Marvel, as everyone knows. So this is Youngblood #1. And like I said, it is not much of a story. It's not much of a book. You know, the character descriptions, how they're portrayed, their depth is essentially non-existent. You know, it's very surface level at best. It has about the depth. You know, it has basically no depth to this comic book whatsoever. Which is part of the reason why it really surprises me that so many issues that Youngblood, you know, has come back to such a incredible celebration, because the original series here, you know, not very story driven, not very captivating story wise or plot wise or character wise. Everyone is very, you know, two-dimensional. You don't have any depth with any of these characters, really. Later on, as the book progresses, there are some hints, and there is a little bit of backstory that are given to characters. You know, that Photon, he's like an alien that crash landed here. Cougar, he is a alien that has, is it Cougar? I think it's Cougar. Cougar and Combat are two rival alien races. They both crashed here. Or maybe it's Combat and Photon. But they're two warring alien races that are working together. You know, that's kind of a thing. Riptide is like a cover model. You know, nothing incredibly compelling. But as I always like to say, nostalgia is one hell of a drug. And if you're someone who was younger when this book came out, and you were swept up in all the Image hype, and you were swept up in all, you know, what was going on, you were willing to overlook those type of things. But when you get older and you've read a whole lot more comics since then, you know, it kind of is stuff that tends to stick out. So now what we have here is the deluxe version, and this came out a couple months ago, and this has a lot of additional scenes to it. Now, if you look here in the first one, creator Rob Liefeld, plot, pencils, and inks Rob Liefeld, dialogue Hank Canales. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. So Uncle Rob, he did plot, pencils, and inks, but this other fella, he does the dialogue for it. Now this here, the deluxe issue, Rob Liefeld, creator, story, art. Joe Casey does the script. So you have extra scenes added in, and all of the script has been redone and you know, it's almost like a redub. Everything's been added in, additional script and dialogue has been changed and enhanced or whatever. Joe Casey is definitely more of a celebrated artist or a writer than this Hank Canales guy is. He's somebody I don't even know. So this issue opens up, and this is a totally different sort of opening than what we got. Like I said, you have your stock Liefeld characters. You know, you've got this guy that looks like the Beast. You've got this guy who looks like a Cable or a Chapel, you know, that we just saw. Just, or even he looks like Weapon X that was introduced in X-Force. So these guys are fighting some aliens or something like that. And then you have this guy here. His name is Jackson Kirby. And he's obviously a homage to Jack Kirby. You know, down to the small stature, smoking the cigar. These guns here, this knife or sword or whatever the hell that is, that's typical Liefeld looking weapons. Impractical, but they look really cool. Then we have another really Liefeld looking page right here, just like a giant splash page. Everyone just doing cool poses. You know, much like a wrestling match intro. Everyone just doing poses. Then we've got this guy here. I'm not sure exactly who this alien is. It says his name is Darkthorn. A despot with insatiable appetites. Okay. Ex-FBI leads Youngblood. This is in the U.S. today. And now let's see what that looked like initially. So we have this here, and then we have the original. The original one gives us the obituary for this insane dictator, but here shows ex-FBI leads Youngblood, and that's Shaft, and it lets us know that he's an FBI agent named Jeff Terrell, and he's Shaft, and he's the leader of Youngblood. And then we get that same introduction where they're at the mall or whatever this is. Let's see. So you can see right away that the dialogue, this is a dialogue in the original, is very light, very breezy. And here it's a little bit more character. You know, you see Shaft talking to his girlfriend. You know, so you're off to LA for that Maxim shoot. Do me a favor. Don't let them blindside you with questions about us. Then they jump into action right here. So you get a little bit more depth about Shaft and his girlfriend, his role as a celebrity. Oh, look. You get to see his eyes. Now his eyes are gone again. Typical Liefeld face. No eyes. So, we got the same scene. No arrows. He uses a pen. And like I said, the dialogue's enhanced. Gives us more of a look at our characters. Still basically the same poses. We kept checking on Badrock. Initially, he goes, I haven't had a lunch like this since I left, Mom. You don't have to do this for me. No problem at all for my only son. Nuts, Mom. I have to go back. May I be excused? And here it's changed to, hey, Mom, do me a solid. Those game developers call again, just give them my cell number, okay? Mom tells him make sure he chooses food. I need to get these chumps straight. Got to be more combo moves during higher level gameplay. Then he runs off, and we get same 3 panels for Die Hard. Same 4 panels, essentially the same 4 panels for Chapel. This time Vogue gets only 2 panels. Previously she had 3. Then again we get the same television network information dump. More battles. This very similar battle scene. So what they've done here is they have spliced in the away team's mission with what the home team's mission was. You get that same pose right here. You'll see this pose a million times in a Liefeld book. Look how big Brahma's mouth is. That dude's yelling. His mouth's big enough to swallow her head. And then we have a little bit here of the home team. Cut back to the away team, and we see Sentinel. Sentinel gets a little bit more action in this than he did in the previous one. We see more Sapphire being a crazy person. That hasn't changed. Cougars or Combat's throwing hands, beating up these robots. Then we cut to the White House. And then here's one of the instances where I was talking about. I think he knows he's got an image problem, sir. Executive Director of Youngblood. It's odd enough that anyone would take that position, much less volunteer the way he did. Well, the entire superhero situation in general keeps me up at night. You'd rather have them acting independently, sir? God knows the nightmares that would result. No, I know you're right. These people, they're not normal. Their lifestyles, their morality. I shudder to think what would happen if we didn't have them on the payroll acting under the auspices of nationalism. But there's an entire culture emerging around us. Code names, costumes, domestic terrorists wearing masks and capes and armor. And I can't tell if the average American finds it all amusing, fascinating, or just plain obscene. So you can tell right here that they are monitoring Youngblood, keeping an eye on them, how they feel, how the public feels about them. You know, if they treat them as celebrities, do they view them as police officers? Do they view them as soldiers? So that's a little bit of the popularity, public aspect. Then we have this other scene here that takes place in the first issue, this jailbreak that the home team has to deal with. Still got that same pose here of Die Hard breaking himself in half. It's a cool shot right here, this guy getting laid out. And then, of course, the coolest of all shots, this right here. Chapel has his motorcycle. And then we end with Sapphire battling this dictator guy. And it turns out it ends the same way as it did the last issue, but it just looks a whole hell of a lot cooler. Like all this energy coming out of his eyes, coming out of his mouth. He says, "See you in hell, Hassan." You see all the blood and everything. That he's laying down. Everyone walks in. He's laying down. He's covered in blood. And then this issue wraps up the same way that the away issue did. And it says, okay, that's enough out of everyone. Forget Hussein, collateral damage at best. I'm sure there'll be the requisite cover story. Let's just press on and get what we came for. He's locked up in here somewhere. Which, that is the last page of issue 1. Teases issue 2 where they meet Prophet. So that is Youngblood Deluxe and the OG original version. And like I said, I know Rob is a lightning rod for a lot of people. A lot of people view him as everything that was wrong with the 90s. And, there might be some truth to that. There was a whole lot of people who tried to follow what he did. He's often seen as the poster child of style over substance. But he hardly can be considered the only person that's ever been guilty of that. But he was a artist that, like I said, when you were younger and you were just into cool looking shit, no matter how over the top it was, it definitely grabbed your eye. And now that I'm older and have been reading for a lot more longer, you're able to view the shortcomings or what have you. But even still, I like I've said before, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and the fact that what he created and debuted here in 1992 is still putting it out in 2025, and it was the number one selling book of November, or at least the first issue of Youngblood was the number one selling book of November. Shows it resonates with a lot of people. So, which, like I said before, it just goes to show you the power of nostalgia. But Youngblood Deluxe compared to Youngblood, the OG version, clearly this issue here is the better of the two. It's more coherently written. The colors look a lot better. And I think even Rob himself has went on record as saying he was disappointed with how this issue turned out. That because his book was the first to come out for Image, it had a lot of bugs in the process as to how they were going to do coloring and the inking and everything. So I know he was really glad to get a chance to redo it and get it out to everybody. But Youngblood, I guess you could say the blood is back, and that has been issue number 1 of Youngblood and issue number 1 of Youngblood Deluxe. So till next time, you guys take care. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.